I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if it's going to be the right move. To this point, yes, it has been the right move. Welcome to my epic journey. Thank you so much. This is Brandon DeVere, and I want to thank you for sharing your time with me. I really do appreciate it. What I want to do to start this episode off is kind of kick off this whole series, what I'm doing right now, and give you kind of an idea of what I plan to do going forward. Back in 2019, I had a podcast called Learn for Two, and the idea behind that podcast was that I would learn with the intent to teach to others. And so I would go out, I did it for 5 days a week for a year, ended up with about 280 episodes or so, 270, something like that. But what I was doing was kind of documenting. It was kind of like an online journal type deal. The challenge is, though, that I did it on audio only. And so I don't really have any video from that. So I kind of want to do something similar this time. Kind of I give you an idea of what I did in Learn for Two. Was I would go out and I'd find kind of stories that I would be throughout the day. I was so like wide awake every day. It's probably the most aware and alert I've ever been in my life because I wouldn't structure it. I had 5 episodes that I started with, and then I went out and every single day was something different. I recorded from the spare bedroom. I recorded from the car. I recorded from the ocean, and I would say, hey, coming to you from Studio O, the ocean. But it was very raw, not super produced. It was on Anchor FM is where I ended up hosting the whole thing. And I would record anywhere from a Disney mic to the mic on my phone to the mic that I'm using now, which is nothing amazing. Like I said, this is just something to be a little bit more raw and not so produced. But some of the stories that I would share in that, I would go out and I would see what was happening during the day. For instance, like one episode, my son went from kindergarten to first grade, and in the first grade or in kindergarten, it was fine because it was just him. Like walking on the other side of the fence, and he's in the playground, and then I would be just on the other side of the fence. Well, in first grade, he went to the big kid playground. So the big kid playground was like 100 yards away from the gate. It was pretty far away. So day 1, I drop him off. He'd turn around, he'd look back. Day 2, I drop him off. He'd go like a couple more steps and look back. Day 3, a couple more steps until finally day 5 on Friday, that first week of the big kid playground, he just said, bye, Dad, love you, and took off. And so that made me think, okay, well, that's kind of like in business, right? Or especially in real estate, any team leaders or something like that, or any supervisor, any type of leadership role. Our team members don't need to see that we're there all the time. They just need to know that we're there all the time. And how you do that is you end up showing up there for them multiple times. And then they know that you're going to be there when the time comes. So that was kind of the premise of that podcast. I shared business stories. I shared personal stories, sometimes super personal stuff that was very uncomfortable for me to share, but I realized those things were the big things to be sharing. Russell Brunson, one of my favorite, owner of ClickFunnels, he wrote Expert Secrets, that basically there's a quote in there. I'm going to butcher it, but the quote is basically people need what you have. And what a shame, what a tragedy it would be if you don't share that with them for the people that are actually out there looking for you. So that's kind of what kicked off that whole thing. And then, anybody who listens to John Cheplack, and he always says, let people know what it's like to work with you before they're working with you. So you're not holding everything as a secret. And so that was, that's kind of the premise behind that, and how I'm moving forward into this podcast, where it's going to be video, again, doing daily videos of what's going on in this journey, right? So I've had a pretty significant change in my real estate career. I went from eXp Realty, where I had 600 agents in my downline organization, whatever you want to call it. But I was across, I think, 34 states, 35 states, 6 provinces, and I think a total of 8 countries where I had agents all over the place. And people thought I was crazy. They're like, what are you doing? Why are you leaving? Why are you doing this? And maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. Well, we're going to find out. I've been here now for 6 months. Here at Epique Realty is where I moved over to, and it's a startup. We just started national expansion this year, and I got in when I believe we were the second state open, but that new, right? And so I made a calculated decision. It wasn't like, oh, I can be in Epique earlier than I was in EXP, because that was a lot of pitches that I would get was, oh, hey, it's like, come join here. It's like joining EXP, but earlier. And I joined early enough in EXP that it wasn't that much earlier or even earlier at all in those other scenarios. But I saw Epique and I evaluated it and I was like, this is kind of where I need to go. With that being said, is that I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if it's going to be the right move. To this point, yes, it has been the right move. But I know it's typically want to share like the success stories, and everyone's like, oh, excited because, oh, I did this, I accomplished this, and now I can go share it. Well, I don't want to do that. What I want to do is share it with you as I'm going through it, and as you know, so people can see, because it's not going to be pretty all the time. It's like I come out and say, hey, I had 600 agents at EXP. That's awesome for one time saying I had 600 agents. Not that I only say it one time, but there's a lot of ups and downs throughout all of that, and I really didn't share much of that before. Within the podcast, I did a little bit, but I didn't really let people inside to kind of see what that took and what came from it, right? Because there's certain sacrifices that you have to do if you want to start building a downline, a significant size downline or organization, whatever we're calling it. But I wanted people to be able to go along with me and kind of see if, you know, maybe for themselves, if they're like, hey, is it worth it to do that kind of thing? And again, this isn't all going to be about Epique. It's called My Epique Experience because, My Epique Journey. The Epique Experience is the podcast that I do for Epique, where I interview agents and things like that. But this one is for me, for my growth, and for people to watch along and just kind of see. Because I can tell you how great it is, and I can tell you all that stuff. I could, you know, most of the time we're hearing that stuff from other people is because they have an ulterior motive and trying to get them in. This way, you know, you can kind of get to know who I am, and you follow the journey and see, does it make sense? Is this something that I should do? Or maybe not even. I mean, again, I'm going to share stories that are about everything. It's not just about Epique and a huge Epique recruitment. What it is this is a big change in my life. And it's so important to document our stuff. And I just went back and listened to a couple of my old podcast episodes, and I'm like, oh man, wow. That was like 5 years ago almost. You still think that way, or you thought that way then? And it's really amazing what you can think. You can see your growth. The other thing is that when I did that podcast was for, you know, my kids. One day, like, I would give anything. My mother passed away when I was young. We'll hear about that on this show, I'm sure. But when I was 18 years old, she had passed away. But what I would have given to like find like a journal or something like that of her just on a random Wednesday saying, you know, this is what I did today, and I had a good day or bad day, whatever it was, but to know like what was going through her head at that point. So with these type of things, it's so important for people to document. I wish everybody would do it. You don't have to be great at it. I'm using this is not full on production studio or anything. Although I've been in those, did podcasts in those. This is my iPhone. The most exciting part about this whole thing is that I turned my office into this kind of backdrop studio. This is not a green screen, as you can see. But this was fun to change this into that. So pretty much what I just wanted to do is share the journey with you guys and see, you know, let you see what it actually is and what it goes through on a day-to-day basis. Episodes could be anywhere from 5 minutes to 20 minutes. It's really going to depend on what I have to say that day, what happened. They're not all going to be awesome either. I mean, as far as like super excited, I try to get jacked up for stuff. But you know, sometimes there's going to be days. I just came off of a super low last week from something that happened that I wasn't terribly excited about. But now I'm right back to where I need to be to move forward. But I thank you guys so much for coming along on this journey with me. Hopefully you can learn something, and hopefully it gives you something to think about at the very least. And you know, maybe we can connect in the future at some point and collaborate at some level. So, all right, I will see you guys back here tomorrow. Have a great one.